In this particular lesson, we want to talk a little bit about how to manage your credit card situation. Okay, so we want to talk about some different definitions that are used, how things are calculated in terms of simple interest using a formula, and how to use compound interest using simple interest. Okay, so as we go through, we want to try and identify, what should you think about when you're choosing to buy a credit card. So, things that you want to consider when buying a credit card, and there really are a number of them. As we go through and you're looking to purchase, you want to know if there's going to be an annual fee or a yearly fee for the privilege of owning the card. Okay, and if so, how much is it going to be, per year? Okay, what annual interest rate is charged on an overdue balance? So, for example, if you fail to pay your balance off in full, and again, balance is what you owe to the credit card company, because credit card basically short-term borrowing, and they want their money back, as we all would. Okay, so what interest rate are they going to charge you? Is it 5%, 10%, 15, 20, 25? What is it? Okay. How often is the interest compounded? So are they calculating the compounding weekly, daily, monthly? Okay, so those are important things because we know from the last unit that the more compounding periods there are, the faster that debt is going to rake up. Okay. We want to know how many days after the monthly statement is issued that you have to pay. So, for example, if your uh, statement is issued on the 5th of the month, do you have 2 weeks to pay, 3 weeks to pay, 1 week to pay? Okay. How quickly does the company want their money back? Okay. We all well, we also want to know how much interest is going to be charged if the balance is paid in full by the due date. So, do they charge you any interest? Um, And are there any incentives or rewards associated with being a card holder? So this is the big draw, or one of the big draws to holding a credit card. You might earn points, you might earn cash back, you could earn things like air miles, you could earn some kind of reward points where you can, eventually buy from a catalog of something like this. Okay, and then finally, you want to know what kind of balance can you hold. So what's the total amount of money that you owe on your credit card, and also what's the total amount of money that you can potentially borrow on your credit card as well. Okay, so in our first example, uh, we can find a credit card, and let's say that Ahmed here has a monthly statement for a credit card, and it's given to him by his bank. And so his credit card statement, it will have the account number, it'll have the credit limit. So the credit limit is the maximum amount of money that Ahmed is allowed to borrow. Okay, at any one time, he can borrow up to $5,700. Okay, which is, I don't know, maybe the price of a really nice vacation, but he doesn't have enough money, enough credit to buy a car off of, at least not a new car. Okay, his daily ABM, okay, or automated bank machine limit, he can borrow up to $1,000 per day. Okay, from his credit card to take directly into cash. Okay, it has an annual interest rate, so a yearly interest rate of 4.9%. That's pretty high. Okay, now bearing in mind that when we talked about investing in a savings account or a checking account, you're looking at an annual savings or at an annual interest rate rather of somewhere between 1.5% and 2.5% on average at this point. Okay, and so in 2017, the interest rates are not particularly high. The annual fee says there is none. Okay, that's a big draw for a lot of people. He doesn't have to pay any money to have this particular credit card. Okay. The statements are issued on the 8th of each month. So on January 8th, September 8th, or whatever, that's when the credit card company says, hey, Ahmed, you owe this much money. Okay. And so as soon as they send that out, okay, that's when the clock starts ticking for him to pay it off. And he has a grace period. That means they're not going to charge him any interest if he pays it back within the first 21 days. Okay, so just think, it comes out on the 8th, and you have 21 days to pay. That means you have until the 29th of each month to pay your credit card. Okay, this is important. The number of cards issued. One, you want to know how many cards are issued in your name because you don't want to be the victim of identity fraud or bank fraud. and so it's important to know just how much credit you have sitting out there. Okay, and the minimum payment. This is a key piece here. Okay, so you always have to make a minimum payment no matter how much you have on your credit card, and usually it's the greater number. Okay, so it's either going to be $10 or 3% of whatever your balance is. And again, the balance is what you owe. Okay, so balance is what you owe. Okay, so if you owe $1,000 to the credit card company, 3% of $1,000 is $30, and so that's bigger than $10, so you'd have to pay them $10. Okay, and normally when you get your bank statement, it will tell you specifically, how much your minimum payment is and when they expect the money to come in. Okay, so let's carry on with this. So we're going to answer a few questions using the information provided above. Okay, so a statement is issued to Ahmed on the 8th of each month. On what day of the payment will it be due? So if we go back to the original question, it told us here that his grace period was 21 days. So if his grace period is 21 days, okay, that means that he's going to have to pay from the 8th plus 21. Okay, so that means that he has until the 29th of each month to pay off his credit card debt before getting hit with an interest charge. So let's take a look at section B here. If it takes 3 days to process his payment, what is the latest date that Ahmed can pay October's bill and not be overdue? Okay, so if it takes 3 days for the company to receive the payment, that means that he has to pay off October's bill by the 29th minus 3 days to process the payment. Okay, and so that would mean that he'd have to pay off everything by October the 26th. Okay, so 29 minus 3 means October 26th is the day that he'd have to pay everything off. Now, that may be the case when people would be mailing in checks and whatnot to pay off their credit card statements. In today's world where everything is automated and most payments can be done online with online banking and this type of thing, normally there's maybe a 24-hour delay, and so you don't have long, 3-day wait limits like you might have had in the older days. Okay, so section C here. Let's say on September's statement, it says that Ahmed has a balance of $86.36. So what is his minimum payment? So we remember that the minimum payment was either $10 or 3%, whichever one was bigger. Okay. So we got to figure out, well, what's 3% of $86.36? So if I want to figure out 3% of 86.36, I need to multiply it by 3%. So 3% is 0.3. And so if I go through and I multiply 86.36 times 0.03, that's going to equal $2.59. Okay, so if 3% of 86.36 is less than $10, the bigger number here is 10, so he's going to have to pay $10. So Ahmed's will have to pay $10. So he's going to have to pay $10 to his credit card company. Okay. We go through, take a look at section D here. It says on October's statement, Ahmed has a balance of $462.18. Don't really have a dollar sign there. So determine again his minimum payment. So same deal. So we got 462.18. I'm going to multiply that by 3%. So we don't know what that's going to be right off the bat. So 462.18 times 0.03 is going to equal $13 and approximately 87 cents. Okay. And so his other option is to pay $10 or 3% of the balance, whichever is bigger. Well, 13.87 is bigger than $10, so he has to pay he's got to pay $13.87. Okay, and so instead of paying off $10, he's got to pay the larger balance, which in this case is $13.87. So next we're going to take a look at calculating his interest. So part E here says if his interest is calculated and compounded daily, okay, that's 365 times per year, calculate the daily interest rate. So round your answer to 4 decimal places. So his annual interest rate is 14.9%. As a decimal, that's 0.149. Okay, so that's his rate. If I want to calculate his I value, okay, because it's compounded, it's a compound interest question, his I value is going to be his annual interest rate, so 0.149, divided by the number of compounding periods per year, and in this case, it's 365 because it's being compounded daily. So every day that he owes money, he has to pay 0.0004% interest. Okay, so just going to calculate it to 1 decimal place. It's actually slightly higher than that if I keep going, but for the purpose of this particular question, 0.0004%, okay, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up quickly. Okay, so you've got to be careful in terms of how you are choosing to pay or to not pay off your credit card debt. Okay, Ahmed's gotten himself into a bit of a pickle. So he has not paid his credit card debt in full for the month of October, and so within the allotted time. So he's getting charged interest. Now, interest is typically charged from the date of purchase. Okay, so let's go back, work back, figure out the math to see how much he's actually going to be owing. Okay, so calculate the interest charged on October's bill if it's paid 5 full days after the due date. So we've already determined at an earlier point that it would have been due on October the 29th. Okay, is when he would have had to pay to receive no bill. Okay, 5 days after would be, so this date you're fine, but he's late paying by 5 days. So because this is October, there's October 30th, the 31st, November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is, he's going to pay it on November the 3rd. Ahmed paid his September bill in full. That's great. He made a new payment for $462.18 on September the 15th. Okay, so the amount that he owes, that's our principal value, so that's $462.18. Okay, he made this payment on September the 15th. Okay, so September 15th, that's halfway through September. So in September, there's 30 days in September, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 extra days. So that means 15 days in September that he has being charged, okay, plus 31 days in October that he's being charged interest for, plus there's 3 days in November that he's being charged interest for. So in total, he owes, or he's been charged interest for a total of 49 days. Okay, so that's how many compounding periods there are, uh, according to what we've discovered. Okay, so we know that his I value, his daily interest rate, 0.0004. Okay, we'll take our answer from the previous one. Okay, and we know also that the total number of compounding periods in this case is 49. Okay, so we're trying to figure out his A value. So let's go through and plug that information in. So 462.18 times 1.0004 to the exponent 49. Okay? So the total amount of money that he's going to owe is going to be 462.18 times 1.0004 raised to the exponent 49. So he's going to owe 471.33, okay, at the end. So if I want to figure out how much interest, okay, so it says calculate the interest charge. That's the extra payment, okay? So remember, we talked about this a little bit earlier in our previous unit. If we want to calculate the interest is your final amount minus your principal, okay? So in this case, your final amount, 471.33 minus the principal of 462.18. So in total, his interest is $9.15. So what this means is that Ahmed has to pay $9.15 more because he didn't pay his credit card bill on time than he would have had to if he did pay it on time. Okay, that's one of the reasons why you always want to pay your credit card bill off as quickly as you can and certainly on time.